ways that you can become a better investor. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Number one, make sure you create an investment plan. So the first thing that you should ever do as an investor is to create an investment plan that shows you exactly what steps you're going to be taking so that there's no guessing. We want to remove all of the guesswork. Remember, guys, the only thing that we can control in investing is our risk management, which is part of our investment plan, and also how disciplined we are to follow the steps of our investment plans. This investment plan is going to be like your compass. Anything that does not align to your investment plan, you do not invest in. If the risk profile doesn't match up, you do not invest. If the risk profile is better than you imagined, you still don't invest. We follow the steps that are included in our investment plan and we do not stray from that. Guys, very, very important. When you're writing down your investment plan, you want to make sure that you have your end goal in mind. So let's say your end goal is to create 6 figures in passive income, which is a very common goal among investors. So guys, for most people, reaching that 6-figure goal is very, very important because they realize that once they hit that figure, they would be able to replace at least part of their full-time income and become more full-time investors. Full-time investors is the goal, but remember not to make it active investing. Active investing like trading or maybe fixing and flipping real estate, that's not really passive income because you still have to do work. We want to create passive streams of income where we either have an operator doing all the work or we're able to create a system that automatically generates passive income for us. Very, very important. In this investment plan, you want to include a couple different sections. Number one is going to be your risk management. So on any one investment, how much of my total portfolio am I willing to put at risk? And then you can also zoom out a little bit to the sector. So let's say in the real estate sector of my portfolio, I'm willing to risk 25% of my net worth specifically on real estate. Okay, cool. So that means that every time I buy a house, what is that calculation on how much I want to risk on that house? What is the maximum amount that I want to risk on that individual house? Maybe it's 5%. So depending on the size of my portfolio, I'm deciding, okay, within this 25%, one of those 25% is going to be a house. Number two is getting access to sufficient capital. So you want to make sure that you have sufficient capital to fund all of this. And if you don't know how to get access to capital, reach out to me on Instagram. I can definitely help you get access to investors and people who are willing to fund your deals. Part number 3 of your investment plan is how you decide whether an investment is a good investment or a bad investment. So that really ties specifically to ROI. So if we're looking at the ROI of an investment and we're potentially risking $1 to make $10, well, it's a really good investment. I'm willing to take that bet. But if I'm risking $1 to make just $1, it's probably not an investment that I want to be a part of. And so I'm always looking at that risk to reward ratio. What is my potential ROI on this investment and what am I potentially risking on it? As part of your investment plan, the most important part is to follow it step by step by step. It doesn't matter if it's a good day or if it's a bad day, we have to follow the plan that we set in place. And so that brings me to part number 2, sticking to the plan. So it doesn't matter whether the economy is in a massive bull run or if we're experiencing the worst crash in the entire history of the stock market, you still have to follow your plan. You can't just decide to throw your rules out the window because that breaks up the statistics that you used initially to calculate, hey, so if I invest into investments that produce $2 for every $1 I invest, that means that I'm going to be profitable if I invest long term, right? So over the course of 1,000 investments, I'm still going to be profitable because most of my investments are winners, first of all. But second of all, whenever I win, I gain twice as much as I could have lost. That only works if you're taking every single investment that follows your rules. But if the market is bad and you're scared to make an investment, even though it aligns with your rules, that messes up your statistics. You have to stay consistent, whether that's daily or that's monthly or whatever you decide as far as your investment plan goes. You have to be able to make those decisions in such a way that allows you to stick to the statistics, stick to the math, and trust the process that it's going to work out in the long run. Point number 3 that I want to talk about is it's easier to save money than it is to make money. So As a beginner investor, look at it like this. If you're able to reduce your expenses, that's a lot easier to do than to try to generate some crazy return on your investment. If you're just a beginner investor and you have, let's say, $10,000 and you want to make a return of 50%, that's a pretty tough return to do for some people. If they don't have access to the right investment opportunities, if they don't have access to the right mentors, it's pretty tough to just generate 50% ROI in a single year. Now, if you look at it this way, it's probably easier for me to save $5,000 per year than it is to generate those $5,000 in new income, because I have to find a winning investment. Based on my statistics, it's supposed to be a winner, but there's still a chance that it isn't. If you want a guaranteed way to make those $5,000, well, just reduce your spending. And for a lot of people, that means moving back with their parents or maybe moving in with some roommates. If you're able to reduce your expenses, you can easily create an additional $5,000, $10,000 a year instead of trying to use your $10,000 and generate a 50% return. Now, maybe instead of $10,000, you have $20,000 or $30,000 that you can invest. So let's just say even on just a $30,000 account, you're looking for a 20% return. Well, that's $6,000. Right? Way easier to make 20% than 50%, but you're still making more money than you would have in the first place where you were just trying to invest your $10,000. Guys, it's very hard to try and squeeze out as much profit as possible when you have a very, very small amount to work with. If you begin saving money, if you begin being more conservative with your spending, you're going to be able to save up a nice lump sum that you're able to use for investment. And then it's easier to create wealth. It's so much easier to create full-time incomes when you're using such a large investment amount. And that brings me to number 4. When we have these investment amounts, whether it's $10,000 or $10 million, we have to be guided in the right direction. We can't do this on our own. I'm partnered with people all around the world that help me with my investments. They usually operate my investments. So let's say I have a rental property in Cancun, Mexico. I'm not in Cancun, Mexico. I'm not cleaning the property after every guest, right? I have somebody that's there managing that investment for me. Now, let's say I have a rental car in Los Angeles. I'm not in Los Angeles. There's somebody in Los Angeles that's making sure my car is washed, that it's cleaned, that every single client has sufficient insurance before they rent it out. People are managing my investments. They're operating these investments and they're getting paid to do it. So guys, if you incentivize your team like that, or if you work with somebody who's already providing this service, we have an entire list of vendors, almost 40 or 50 people that provide services like this for our students. And guys, these people are able to completely transform the investor's life because they're creating truly passive income for the investor. They're doing all the hard work that you don't want to do as the investor, and they're just charging you part of the profits. It's a pretty good deal if you ask me, and I try to structure all of my investments in this way because I know that I don't have to be out in the field working on it. I would rather be spending time on what I love to do and creating that passive income and just splitting the profits with somebody who's operating my investment. Guys, hope these 4 tips make you a better investor. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.